Hi, I'm Riley.
And I'm Maddie.
And welcome to the Making Fire podcast. This is a podcast with two longtime besties who want to include people into their minds on their favorite TV show, Survivor. This is conversations, it's drama, it's silliness, and we are here to add to the ever-growing amount of Survivor podcasts. But we're different because we're like fun and fresh and cute.
And we are not experts. And we don't take the game too seriously.
No.
We're here for the fun.
Because sometimes, it's just fun. It's just drama. It's just silly. We're not going to be the Game Body podcast. We're not breaking down every move every week. If somebody says something a little funny, a little silly, that is what this podcast is about. This podcast is for the Heathers and the Tiffany's, not for the Shans and the Ricards.
But also Shannon and Ricard, you can watch this podcast.
Yeah, you can watch this podcast.
Yes. So we thought we would introduce ourselves and our history with the show before getting into more of a deep dive on the last couple seasons and our opinions about it. So I can go first. I grew up watching Survivor with my family. We watched it every Wednesday. But when I was in high school, I'm not really sure why, but we stopped watching. And so I took a little break from Survivor. But in college, I started watching it again with Riley and our other bestie, Anna, who's a Survivor huge fan of Survivor.
Huge fan. She can name you every season and every person that's been on that season.
Yes. And my love for Survivor was sparked again, and now I love it. I watch every season.
It's been so fun watching it with Maddie. I have a similar Survivor experience. Growing up watching with family, I have vivid memories of watching Cass and Spencer on Cagayan or Second Chance. I can't remember, but I remember watching growing up. But then I got really into Big Brother. A little controversial, I know, but Big Brother 16 was one of the first seasons of Big Brother that I got into, and then Caleb, who's on that season, was also on Co Wrong. So then that brought me to Co Wrong and Survivor that way, and I quickly became obsessed with it. High school was when I started watching it, so we slightly missed each other in our obsessions with it. But we should say that we are high school best friends now.
Yes.
Gone into college best friends, so we slightly missed each other there. But I watched starting live with Ghost Island, and I watched every season since, and then I've gone back and watched most seasons twice now. So Survivor this is what I nerd out about. This is my little obsession. But we brought it back together, and we watched Survivor in college, and we did that been watching it together ever since. Yeah.
And it's fun because I love Survivor, but I don't know as much about it as Riley does. So Riley brings more of the expertise side that I don't necessarily have. So it's really fun watching together.
It is fun. It's a good experience because it's good to have someone to talk to while it's happening. Because sometimes something happens and you just need to be like, girl, do we both just see that with our eyes? Sometimes pictures pop up of certain people. Sometimes just crazy WTF moments happen, and it's nice to have somebody that you can bond with. So that's that. I think we should probably go over some of our favorite things about Survivor, some of our favorite moments from past and present. If you want to get us started.
Yes. So one of my favorite archetypes to watch on Survivor is a funny villain. I love someone who's there for a good time, wants to shake things up and stir the pot a little bit, but in a fun way, maybe not a way everyone expects a villain to be, but I love a big personality. I also love people that are super strategic, but they're fun, and they don't come off as a big threat, and they are just fun characters to watch that other players might not notice in real time. And I think it's really fun to follow those people and to see their storylines. I think Carolyn from season 43 is a really good example of that. She's so smart and just understands the game in a really in-depth way, but a lot of people underestimate her. But she brings the drama, funny, and the strategy. I also love from recent seasons Mike from 42, Queen Tiffany from season 41, Jam Jam from 44, and other people like that. Something I want to see more of is more villain characters that add the spice to the game. Some past ones I love are some Abby Maria moments where she inserts herself into conversations where she is being talked about, and all the other players are so thrown off by her confrontational nature. I love that. Another one of my favorite moments is when on Cagayan, Jatia threw the rice in the fire for the tribe because she thought she was going to get voted out, and then she didn't and had to live with the consequences of her actions. That we just don't see that as much anymore. And those are the moments that really stick out to me from watching Survivor. And I love to see the relationships of the tribe, and getting to know the castaways on just every level is super fun. Some things that I hope to see in future seasons. The auction. I love the auction. It's something I would look forward to in every season, and I desperately miss it. I want to see the game focus more on the players and their relationships and strategies and each character in the season, and less about the advantages and the players playing against the advantages rather than the people. And finally, I need a theme. I need a theme more than anything. They bring so much to the game, and I really miss them. So that is where my mind is at.
You'll find that Maddie and I have very similar thoughts about things. We try not to say the same things multiple times, but I want a lot of the same. I think the big thing about advantages too, I hate how advantage heavy the game has become. It's a really good point, voting out advantages over people. I think that's a great point, and I think it's very irritating to watch sometimes, and can be kind of boring. So I agree with all that. I also, like we said earlier, we live for the drama. I live for the drama. Survivor is a strategy show, and there are some fun, crazy strategic moments that happen that I'm this is why I watch. But also at the end of the day, it is a reality TV show, and I'm I need the drama sometimes. So some of my favorite Survivor moments, I live for a Final Triple Council. To me, Final Triple Council is the culmination of the whole season. It's coming out of this one moment, one scene. I'm a big fan of the one-on-one jury speeches. I feel the one-on-one leaves more room for drama, where today when we have just everybody talking, it's not as fun in my opinion. But I think some of the best Survivor moments have come out of the one-on-ones. I think of Reed questioning Missy and San Juan del Sur, Brenda to Dawn and Carol Moen. Even back in season 1, you have Sue's Snakes and Rats speech to Hatch and Kelly. I think those are such iconic moments that sometimes are underappreciated, but I really think Final Triple Council is a great part of the season. Some of my favorite winners, I love a good Final Triple Council performance as well. Obviously jury questioning is great, but seeing how one of my favorite winners, Sophie, she has such a great Final Triple Council performance. I love getting to see that, even just in recent seasons. I think Marianne's 42 is really good. Maddie and I watched that live together, and I remember some of us in this podcast were not big Marianne fans during 42. It wasn't me though, not me, but
I don't know.
What do you have to say about that?
It's not that I don't like Marianne. I do love Marianne, and I think it was fun to see a winner that you might not necessarily, that doesn't look exactly like all the other winners in terms of gameplay and strategy. I think going into that final tribal council, I'll be honest, I thought Mike was gonna win. I was thrown off. I'm not mad about Marianne winning. I think my reaction to Marianne winning was more about the storytelling of the producers and how the show was shown to the audience, where I was just a bit confused. But I'm okay with it, and I'm happy for Marianne. I have no problems with it. Oh no, actually, scratch all of that. Romeo should have won. Period.
We'll get to Romeo and his Galaxy sweatshirt later. We'll be talking about individual seasons, but I am a big Marianne stan. I love, again, we'll talk about it later. I'm a big Survivor 42 fan, but I love a good final tribal council performance. Like I said, it's sort of like the culmination of a season. But yeah, I think messiness, drama, strategy, other seasons. I'm a big like Vanuatu fan, David vs. Goliath, Pearl Islands, China. Those are all seasons to me that had ultimate messiness, but also ultimate gameplay. A good back and forth between the two. I don't like a season that's just, well, I don't know. I will take a season that I will take a hot take. I would rather take a season that is ultimate messiness than take a season that is ultimate like game bot, if that makes sense. Like, I would rather take a Survivor Gabon. I would rather take a Survivor Nicaragua than like I can't even go on top of my head. Like I don't know. A season that is just dominated by like one person, like a one world. One world's kind of messy. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but I like a good mix of both. I find that very entertaining. But to Maddie's point as well earlier, bring back themes. I love a theme. I'm desperate for a casting theme. If we're not gonna leave Fiji, give me a casting theme. Give me something to spice it up a little bit. Again, we'll come back to that, but I agree. I'm in desperate need for a theme. I am over the numbers. Give me a theme.
I agree with that. So next we thought we would give our thoughts on the new era, seasons 41 through 44, breaking down each season and giving a little pro or con from each of them. So I can start us off with something I liked from season 41. That is, I like that this new season brought some new things to the game. I like the taking away the flint at challenges, losing that. I like the lack of food, the supplies for building a shelter, all of that. I thought that was fun, especially with the shorter seasons in terms of how many days they're out there. There's also lots of goofiness and laughs this season. As I mentioned before, we are huge Tiffany Seeley fans. I, for Christmas one year, made custom socks for Riley, our friend Anna, and I. And I just love her. I love watching characters like Tiff and Heather. She's another one. I think they just bring a lot to the show, and this was a really fun season to watch. And I think it also helps that we are coming back off of COVID and a lack of Survivor, and so there was a lot of excitement when watching this season.
Maddie's really underselling our socks about Tiff. We were recognized on Tiff's story, so you can catch us with our Tiffany Seeley socks.
Tiffany, you are welcome on the show.
You are welcome on our podcast, Tiffany. If you're watching this, we are your biggest fans. You may recognize us. We are the fans with the socks, with your face on it. Obsessed with her. There is something. She is just good TV. And there was a point where I was convinced she was winning the season. I may have just been living in my own delusional little world, but I was like, no, she's literally going to take the cake. Like, she has it. She's going to take it. Obviously.
Winner edit.
No, like, she is the. You look winner edit in the dictionary, it's a picture of Tiffany Seeley. So we're big Tiffany fans. My big pro from season 41 is sort of like a culmination. The diversity initiative that was put in place. Obviously, I personally feel like there is more work to be done within the diversity initiative. More boundaries to be broken. But I think the Survivor 41 cast was a great cast to start with. I think that great work. Survivor because it's a show that's been going on for 20 plus years. It's a show that has over 40 seasons. Coming on the 45th season, and I feel like there's still room. There's still people that it can pull in to like watch. I think the diversity initiative helps expand that a little bit, and I think this cast was a good place to start with that.
I agree. I am so happy with the progress, but there is more. We will talk more about this as well.
Yes.
So now cons from season 41. I found it really hard to keep up with all of the new advantages. I know we will talk about advantages a lot on this podcast and our opinions about all of them, but I thought it was just kind of tough to keep up with the extra vote, knowledge is power, steal a vote. It felt like the advantages and twists in this season started playing too big of a role, which we'll talk about as a critique for later seasons as well.
I hate the hourglass twist. Going off of that, obviously, I think it is one of the worst twists. I know Danny from this season was one to speak out, one to be the most vocal against this twist, and I agree 100%. Specifically, the hourglass the episode it happens, we were watching, of course, live, and I remember it ended, and Maddie and I were like, why did they stop this episode right here? It was the merge episode, one of the most exciting episodes in a whole season of Survivor, and you're gonna cut it off for this twist that's gonna reverse everything that just happened. I love Erica. I think she's a very valid winner, and I'm not gonna knock her game. I'm not gonna knock her over something that she didn't really like. It was a producer choice. This wasn't her doing, right? And if I was in her position, you would do it too for a check. I would
Absolutely.
do it too. Absolutely. But it killed all merge momentum. It was so annoying, and I just didn't vibe with it. I think it's a terrible twist.
I agree with that. Next, moving into season 42, I really liked the players this season. I thought that Mike, Marianne, Omer, Romeo, and so many more were so fun to watch. When I think of them, I immediately recognize these people and can tell you so much about how they played. I thought their personalities really were just showcased on this season, and it was super fun to watch, and I feel like it made it more memorable. I really like the players.
I love the players. I'm not one to hide. I am a big fan of Survivor 42. It is probably my favorite season in the new era. What about you?
I liked it. I don't like being attacked for this whole Marianne thing.
No. I'm not attacking you for the very. No. If you had listened to what I said, I was proposing a question to you. What is your favorite season of the new era?
Okay.
Survivor 43.
Okay, not 43. I think I have a hard time picking a favorite right now because they are all so fresh. Because something I will talk about is that I think the major selling point of all of these seasons is the players, not necessarily love the player, hate the game. Just kidding. I love the game.
Jeff, if you're watching, we love the game.
we love Survivor. But it's hard for me to pick a favorite because they all feel so similar. It's the players that are different. So it's like, yes, I loved watching season 42. It was so much fun. But I also, like I said, I loved season 41's players. Tiffany, Erica, Heather, all of them. They were so much fun. Same thing with, I'll leave out 43 for the moment. Same thing with 44. I think that one is so fresh in my mind, but I really enjoyed a lot of the people in that one. So it's hard. I think they're all equal.
Well, I can pick favorites. I love Survivor 42, and my big pro from this season. This is something that you can say, I guess, for the seasons. This is something Maddie brought up earlier, but I love the unconventionalness of the winners that we have in the new era. When I say unconventional, I just mean like gameplay. I mean, obviously we get far more representation. In the 4 winners we've had this season, we have so much more like literal representation in who these winners are, who they represent. But I just think gameplay-wise, I think it's very interesting, the types of games that these people end up getting rewarded for playing. I think is very cool, and I really like this sort of distance it's creating. I'm a big fan of 3 of the 4 New Era winners, so I will say that.
Okay, so moving on to our not so great thoughts about season 42, if Riley has any. I know this is not necessarily intentional, but it is true just based on the circumstances of the time. But this felt like an exact copy and paste of season 41, just with different players. Same advantages, the same trek that I don't love. The only thing different was the players, and I understood that at the time. I understand it for the time. This will also be a critique going into further seasons, but I wasn't necessarily bored, because I wasn't bored with the players, but I think I wish there were some differences between 41 and 42 in terms of advantages or situations that happened during the game that were created by producers.
I think that was the actual twist of 42, was that it was a copy and paste. And I think the idea, you're right, like the idea of the twist was that, oh, we're putting different people in the same situation, how is it going to be handled? Like, what is the difference in the outcome? But I have to agree with Maddie that I did not like it. I think, in general, I think that the twist probably works better from a player's perspective, and a producer's perspective, right? Because I'm like, oh, this kind of seems perfect, like putting back-to-back people, or back-to-back seasons with different people, seeing how they play out, right? But I just think the timing of everything, I think if they weren't literally back-to-back seasons, like if 41 had been one idea, right? And then 42, because between 41 and 42 is like a 3-month difference, and then like between 42 and 43 is like not 6 months. There's a longer time gap, I believe, between the spring season and the fall season. I don't like how close they were to each other, especially when we had just got back from COVID. These are the 2 new seasons. Everybody's just been fiending for Survivor, and you're just giving us the same exact thing. I did not like it as a twist. And I feel like for the audience, I really like the season, but in the twist sense, I was like, this is not interesting. The twist is not interesting to me. I've seen all of this literally before, literally 3 months ago. It's fresh on my mind.
Yes, exactly. So then moving into Survivor 43, I unfortunately don't have any pros for this season. I can talk more about it in the cons, but I struggled to watch this season for the reasons I just stated about the cons about season 42. But I will save it and let Riley talk about his favorite things from his favorite Survivor season ever.
You know what? You guys think I like Survivor 42. Survivor 43, game changer. No, I'm not a big fan of Survivor 43. It's not a terrible season, but I also am not a huge fan. I at least do have a pro from the season. I think similarly to 41 and 42, 43 had a pretty good cast of people, pretty unique people. I feel like the character arcs specifically, through the core cast, was really entertaining, and it was interesting to me. I liked Owen's sort of rootable underdog storyline. I really liked Carla's villain storyline. I liked Jesse and Owen's duo storyline and how that ends up getting cut at the end. I think it's so interesting. Sammy is sort of like, I'm young, but I'm actually not stupid, even though everybody thinks I'm stupid, and him sort of masterminding a few things. I think the character arcs are very interesting this season, but as we'll get into the cons, I just think overall, the season felt kind of flat for me.
Yes. As a Survivor fan, I struggle to get into the early game. That is just something I struggle with most seasons, and I think not having a theme has really just made it even harder for me at times to get invested in the game. And I think I wasn't invested in this one early on because I kept seeing the same things as 41 and 42. And watching, it felt like I was watching the same thing for a third time, just with different players. And I didn't like that the players knew about the likely twists and advantages because they had seen 41 and 42, or I don't know about 42, but at least 41. It was well known what this new era looked like. So I only loosely followed it, but I didn't get as into it as other seasons, just because I need something else to spice it up. I got a little bored. But no hate. If someone wants to, from Survivor Season 43 wants to come in and defend the season, you're more than welcome.
I was a big Owen fan, so 43. Hey Owen, you can come on the season if you ever want to like stuff on by. I agree. Like I said, Maddie and I we tend to agree a lot. Trust me, there will be times where there are disagreements, but I agree in the sense that this was the first season post 41, 42. I think if they had not seen the finish of 42, they at least saw most of 42 and got the idea, okay, these are the things that are reoccurring so far. You have your prisoner's dilemma, your shot in the dark, amongst other things. I get that they're trying to do things different, and I appreciate the mindset of doing at least they're trying to do twists different. The challenges maybe not so much, but I like this mindset that they're having of trying different things and not getting stuck in the same things twist wise, because then that can be kind of boring. But they're not really twists anymore because we see it more in 44 than we do in 43, but people are starting to be able to like prepare themselves for these things. People understand what the prisoner's dilemma, they understand what this trek thing is. Like, if you're able to prepare for it, it doesn't make it much of a twist. Which obviously you can make an argument like the swap started as a twist, idol started as a twist. All these things that have become fundamental to what the game is today have started as twists. So it could just be like an in-time thing, but I think most of the stuff that they're depending on has become predictable for the players, which makes it not very fun to watch as like from an audience perspective.
I agree with that. Yeah. Moving into 44, some pros. I thought this was a very fun season to watch. Like the past couple seasons, character-wise, it was a very silly, goofy season. The players were really fun, lots of fun personalities. I love the Carolyn Jam dynamic. That was super fun to watch. And I guess this was kind of a season where we got to see them play within these twists that aren't really twists anymore, and watching them try and navigate them, I think, they were just, I had a fun time watching this season despite all the similarities to the past seasons, mostly because of the people that made it fun to watch.
We love a good cast. I agree. This was a very fun little silly season. The Tika 3 will go down as an iconic alliance in Survivor history. Carolyn, Jam, Carson, they all have their pros and cons, but it was so silly. Like to see just the whole season was so silly, starting from like the premiere where Matthew fell off the rock, and like why would you be climbing a wet rock in the first place, and like showing off for what, and all these things. The Franny and Matt like showmance that happened on the island, like there was just fun little things. What Jamie, the idol, the fake idol, and the fact that, oh my gosh, Jamie waiting all season to play it and then got voted out with it and never got to play it. That was sad from an audience perspective, but there was just ultimate silliness, and it felt really refreshing after 43, which I felt like was not very silly, and I did not really love. But I agree. I really enjoyed just like the characters and sort of the dynamics that 44 had.
Okay, to interject about the Matt and Franny thing. As much as I love a good showmance, a big critique that I have on the editing of the season is that I don't like that was all they talked about with Franny. Every time after Matt got voted out of tribal council, anytime Franny talked, pan to Matt. Like, let her be her own entity. Let her be her own player. She was so good in challenges, which ultimately was a problem for her. But, like, show more of Franny. She is her own person. Same with Matt. Matt is his own person. Anyways, that is one critique I have to get started into my critique of the season. As much as I love the players, I think the players are what we're grabbing onto these new seasons, just with everything being so similar every season. But one of my problems is that I noticed I miss having your classic villain characters. I noticed at a point in the season where there were still quite a few players left, but I liked everyone. Everyone was likable. Everyone is being nice to everybody for the most part. There's gameplay, strategy, like, oh, we should vote this person out. Oh, here's the fake idol, all of that. But everyone was nice. And, like, in a way that I just don't think brings the drama to the show. I think I miss that aspect of it.
I think, like, the new era, like, I feel like it started off strong with villains, right? Like, Shan and Ricard, I think, were so fun. I loved them as villains. I think, like, 42 had Drea, which I thought she was a really fun villain. And then I don't know, like, 44, you're right, but those people that I'm mentioning, like, they're not your Sandras. They're not your Parvs. They're not your Boston Robs, right? Like, and I think there's an argument to be made that it's harder to be those types of archetypes in the day of, like, social media and, like, that we're living in. I'm a big RuPaul's Drag Race fan, and you can see it present in that sort of fandom. This idea of, like, villains and how people can be villains, but I agree. I love a good villain. My big con at this point in the new era, and I think this has been a con for a lot of people for a long time, since at least Heroes, Hustlers, Hustlers, this end game that Survivor has constructed for itself. I know this is a controversial opinion. I know. Burn me at the stake. I do not like fire miniking. I do not like it. And
But don't worry that our podcast name is Making Fire.
Is Making Fire. Well, like, you can make fire at camp. I don't need to see it at Tribal at Final Four. I don't like the fire making challenge at the end of the season. I just think this end game needs to be shook up a little bit. The fact that I'm pretty sure in all 4 seasons, 41 through 44, it has been a 7-1 vote at the end. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's what it's been. I don't like it. It's too predictable. I don't want a predictable winner. I love a good Final Tribal Council performance, like I said. I don't necessarily love a predictable winner edit, which I will give the producers some grace that some of the winners I have not found very predictable, but I think just, like, I don't want to see it through the Final Tribal Council. The Final Tribal Council is like the last 20 minutes of an episode. I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, I know Marianne's going to win this. Oh, I know Erica's going to win this. I know Jam Jam's going to win this. I want a little bit more flexibility within that. I know there's, like, conversations within the Survivor community. Should jurors be sequestered from other jurors? Like, what should the jury portion of the game look like? I think there's a lot to discuss there, but I really think it needs to be shaken up because I'm sort of over the 7-1-0 split. I want things to look a little bit more. I want it to be more on edge. I want to be a little bit more excited or surprised or whatever. Is that too much to ask? I don't know.
No, and it makes sense, but along with that, I wish that, I guess how they edit the whole of the show, that you would still understand the winner. That I want the surprise, but I want it to make sense in the overall storyline.
I think Survivor in this new era has really missed its mark a little bit, especially with these endgame people. There is a handful of people that we know nothing about going into the endgame. Obviously, I know at the end of the day, Survivor is a TV show, and you're telling the story of the winner, right? But even looking at 41, like everybody was shocked when Erica won. Again, I love Erica, but everybody was shocked when Erica won because nobody saw that coming.
And not in a good way.
Not in a good way. She had a terrible edit, obviously not in her control, and I'm sure she won, so she definitely did stuff that deserved for her to win. Like, the jury at least saw stuff. So, like, we really miss Erica. I mean, just thinking last season, Heidi and Warren were really Jamie was really under-edited. Marianne, I would even say, had a not necessarily great winner's edit. Romeo, you could argue, was very under-edited gameplay-wise. Cassidy in 43 was really under-edited, and she got second place. So, I mean, even Mike, I feel like Mike as a winner was really under-edited, just in the sense of, like, what did he do that we did not see? You know what I mean? Survivor's editing game is not on top of it, which is sad. Again, like, I don't want things to be too predictable, but I need something a little different. I'd at least like to get to know everybody in the final six. Like, I don't feel like that's too much to ask.
I'm hoping that with the new seasons being longer in time, that we do get to see more of that. I'm hopeful that the storytelling will change a little bit for the better in these coming seasons.
Well, looking at these coming seasons, we do have Survivor 45 airing in 2 weeks as of this podcast episode, which we're super excited about. So let's just, get into some things that we're sort of looking forward to within the next couple seasons.
Yes, so in terms of things that I like more about this new era that we didn't see before, it's hard for me to pinpoint a lot of things. Other than some of the new players have been really exciting to watch. But I personally, might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not really bothered by the shorter amount of time that they're out there. I think in that amount of time, there's still so much room for fun gameplay, in-depth relationships to be formed. And so I'm just putting that opinion out there. I don't mind it. But something I do hope to see is some new challenges, more creative challenges, just different challenges. I don't like that players more and more recently have been talking about how they are able to practice the exact challenges at home. I know Carson talked about 3D printing puzzles and being able to practice them, and it seems like this behavior is encouraged. I was listening to Jeff Probst's podcast, other controversial opinion, but the way he was talking about it is that players should be using these resources and practicing ahead of time, but I argue that not everyone has access to those resources and shouldn't be able to predict challenges like that, especially when they are such a big part of the game. So I would like to see them mix the challenges up a bit. I know this is a big sore subject in the Survivor community, but I want less advantages. I agree with what I think is the general consensus from a lot of people. I think they are way too much, not only for the audience to keep track of, as we are watching the game from a wider lens than the players are. If we're having so much trouble keeping track of what people have and they have to put it on the screen, who has what, it's not fair to the players to have to keep track of that. the players are really playing against the advantages at this point and not the other players. They're not voting out based on, oh, this person is a big strategic threat, this person is really strong. It's, I think this person might have this advantage. We need this advantage out of the game over the player. And I like advantages to a certain extent, but I think at this point they are way too much of a character. They're their own player in the game, and I just don't think it's as fun to watch.
I agree. I am over these challenges. I often find myself bored with challenges. I am on the same boat. I know, again, this is something that I feel like a lot of people are split on. I agree with Maddie that I don't think that people should be able to overly practice at home. Like, obviously, make fire at home. Like, learn how to balance at home. Like, do crosswords daily. Like,
swim.
You can do stuff. I mean, if you want. Fish. Hey, brother, going out to fish. I don't want people 3D printing things. I know it's controversial. Not controversial. It's just like split down the middle. I feel like some people are like, it's cool. I just personally don't feel like some of the arguments are like, oh, you can just, printing is cheap. You can go to like, I don't know, go to a place that has a 3D printer and print. I'm like, that's crazy. Buy a puzzle off of Etsy. You don't need a 3D printer. I don't want to buy a puzzle off of Etsy. Like, I just don't think the puzzle specifically should be so predictable that people are able to overly practice them at home. I also just don't like, we've talked about this one-on-one, I don't like how heavy endurance challenges are. I know this is also a conversation that has been happening in this new era, sort of the unfairness in the types of challenges played pre-merge and who that ends up leading, or who that ends up getting like voted out at that point. Specifically, like, you see a lot of women now getting voted up pre-merge just because tribes are so focused on strength. And then post-merge, you just have heavy endurance, like, over and over and over again. I'm sort of over it. I want a challenge. I want challenges to be. I want it to get shaken up. Get shaken up. I want everything shaken up. And this is something we've said multiple times. The casting has been pretty good in the past couple seasons. I think the cast in general have been the highlight of the past couple seasons. I said this at the beginning, but I really, I feel like the diversity initiative that CBS has done has been a bit successful. There are definitely more steps to go with that. There are more races in America than white and black. We can have a more diverse cast with race, ethnicity, location. I don't want everybody from California. I don't want everybody from. That's really. I feel like that's kind of like a Big Brother problem, also like a Drag Race problem too. But I don't want everybody from California. I don't want everybody from New York. Give me just a little bit of everything. We started having Canadians on. More international people would be cool. That's something Big Brother's been doing. Is people who live in America that aren't American born. It'd be cool. More LGBT representation, more differently abled representation. Like, there's so much more that can happen. I think would be really good. And give me a returning season soon. There are so many people, new era, like post Game Changers, new era. Obviously, we just had Winners at War, but Winners at War is such a specific set of people that can be cast. Like, what at that point, like 36 people out of the hundreds of people who played Survivor could have been cast. Give me, like, there's so many people pre 40 and post 40 that I'm just dying to get back on my TV. And I'm fiending for that soon. I really want it.
Me too. And I think to touch on the more inclusion in Survivor, I think it sends such a positive message when you have all these people from different backgrounds working together, like Jeff says, to create a new society. And I think it could be such a good platform for that. And I think there's so much more room to grow there that I hope to see happen in the future. And so to wrap this episode up, these are kind of the thoughts and opinions that we have been marinating on and discussing for the past 4 seasons and beyond that. And we are so excited to start sharing these with you. And we're so excited for this new season to start and to be discussing each episode every week. Next week on the Making Fire podcast, we will be discussing our Survivor drafts, going really in depth into that with this new cast. And in conclusion, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Making Fire Pod. Yeah, this has been fun.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.